So, hello everyone. I'm woman FIDE master Adriana from Moscow. I would be moderating today's session. Thank you to every one of you for being here with us today. We are very pleased to be able to welcome those of you that have been with us for a long time now, as well as those who are new to the neuter community. We welcome back GM Boris on the Neuter platform with his camp initiative. So we would be pleased to talk about him a bit. Boris became Grandmaster in 1997 at the age of 21. He won a lot of tournaments that you can see on your presentation. He is famous by training with some of the best players in the world, like Rajabov, Kramnik, Caruana, Vesesov, and go on. Boris is universally recognized as one of the foremost opening theoreticians of the modern era. He is the world leading expert on 1D4 and has authored some of the classics. And also, before we start the session, I would like to explain some do's and don'ts of the session. At first, use checkbox for answering. And the next, use question and answer box to ask the questions. So try to avoid spamming in the chat and also avoid repeating the questions. So yeah, thank you for being here with us today.
So I can start, right?
Yeah.
Hello, guys. Hello, guys. Well, I'm glad to be back on the Nurture platform after 1 year break. I hope you're doing well in India. I know it's not in easy times, but I'm thankful once again for opportunity to continue, and hopefully, guys, you are going to benefit from this. Hopefully, you're going to benefit. So this time we have a little bit different format. You used to my opening lectures. Well, I hope I would love to hear one day about the results, how it's worked for you, all the opening knowledge, how you score points. But we'll do it maybe at some point. But well, today it will be a little bit different structure. Today will be a little bit different structure. We're going to talk about strategical topics. And so today we start with the initiative, and specifically, I would like to give you I would say pretty advanced topic, which called long-term compensation. So this is the part of one of the aspects of initiative, in my opinion, guys. And I see there are quite a lot of players here. So, and I would love you to be involved. So at some positions, I will stop, give you some time to think. So you'll come up with the answers, and then we will discuss who got the right answer. Guys, there are a lot of people, and I'm not sure I will mention everyone's name if he answered correctly. Once you answer, I already used to this format, but there will be 20 right answers, and I'm not sure I can remember all the names, and it goes very quick in the chat. So I will say, okay, this is the best move, and you will see who answered correctly, right? So that will be the format, and I hope without further delay we can start. Yeah, so guys, please, if you have some questions about the game, I'm ready to answer, but only something relevant. So you can send the question. You can send the question to me, in the chat box, and then during my lecture I will see whether it's deserves attention, right? If it deserves attention, I will be very happy to answer this question. But if it will be question I don't know, maybe you're asking and at the same time you drop the piece, so I will not answer this question. So guys, so you understand, if you send the question, it's a good one, I'll try to address, right? Okay, without further delay, we are moving forward. And as I said, talking about initiative, guys, well, I remember how like once like one grandmaster answer like told me that, well, of course every chess player likes to play with initiative. Of course, you know, if I ask you like what would you like to play in defense or with initiative, everyone will answer yes, we like to play with initiative. We should like know how to do this and so on, right? So this is the part of the game. I mean, we will talk about other part of the game, how to defend and so on. So this will be also one of the sessions. Now, I wanted to start with one very specific variation. So it's a variation in Slav defense. It's a classical line, right, guys? Slav defense. I'm pretty sure like many of you guys playing this opening for either color, right? So here we are getting probably the most principal idea for white, right? It's two knights. It's two knights. It's not what recommended in my books, but knight c3, knight f3 has been always like the most challenging, right? And those who play this opening for black, they start studying with this variation. And like I always recommend, okay, you need to check what is happening in this line. And guys, who can tell me what are the options for black? Three major options for black in this position. Who can tell me? So it's not like you don't need to think, right? Like you just whatever you know. Oh, how many? No, for black, somebody's saying bishop f4, but I'm talking about black. I'm talking about black. Knight g4. Oh, well, that's interesting. Okay, so there was Gianni Fodella. So that was exactly the right answer. So he gave me three options. So guys, there is e6. It's called semi-Slav, or some people call it Smeran. Now there is a move a6, which called Chebanenko variation. Guys, Chebanenko variation, right? But by the way, maybe you don't see this quite often in your games, but this is the last opening variation that Kasparov played before he retired. So it's not so bad, right? And finally, we have move d takes c4, which called classical Slav. So this is something, by the way, I have one book where I gave this Slav defense for black, and that was my choice. So it's called classical Slav. dc4 to compare with d6, it's more positional, supposed to be more positional for black, but everything depends on white. Now, usually in this position, white plays a4, guys. So the idea to prevent b5, right? We prevent b5, and then next we will get the pawn. So you usually like the main move is bishop f5. Now white can play e3, get the pawn on c4 with the bishop, or there is something more ambitious, knight e5. Yes, correct. Knight e5, and then it's kind of like more ambitious play because white sometimes wants a free e4. So this is normal theory. Knight h4 is also possible. That's absolutely correct. Mentioned by Shahodib. Yeah. So there is indeed after bishop f5 there is knight h4. That's absolutely correct. Yes. So that's another opening. Now in this specific game that I would like to show you, and maybe two games, was played e4. So it's already some kind of like gambit, right? So we play e4. What's the problem? Well, obviously black comes with b5, right? Protecting the pawn. That's why we play a4 normally. And now in this position, there is like very old theoretical line which goes e5, knight d5, a4, and so on. So here we have like, I don't know, probably 1,000 games, but it's kind of like well established that black is doing well. Black is doing well. White always has compensation. Black is in general theoretically in good shape, right? Now there is a modern line. Which goes bishop e2. Very interesting line. It's mainly I paid attention when Russian Grandmaster Daniil Dubov started to play this, and then recently it's got really popular. It's got really popular, and it's actually very interesting. It's actually very interesting. Would I recommend you to play? I don't know, because I would say it's very advanced, but hopefully when you see the games, maybe you like it and so on, you might consider, right? So basically we are not thinking about getting the pawn back, so not paying attention. So somebody asked me, c4, c6 pawn, they're double pawns. Yeah, they're double pawns, obviously. And I would say also c6 pawn, it's kind of like blocks the bishop, but it's still extra pawn. It's still extra pawn, but it's, you know, sacrificing c4 pawn in d4 openings is pretty common. Like, you know, I'm the player who plays Catalan. I have books on Catalan, right? Like, you know, guys, there are a lot of variations sacrificing pawn on c4. So it's there are like lines. There are lines where we sacrifice this. So bishop e2. So white basically decides we go for quick development, and we'll see what is happening. Now the first game is very interesting. I was actually, I would like to go with a game that played by my student with black pieces. So my student, he's a national master. He's a national master here. He's like, you know, USCF rating 2250. I would say it's probably will be 2200 FIDE. Like, I mean, usually it's considered that USCF it's 100 points less, but it's a bit more tricky. I would say he's about 2200 FIDE. Maybe it's a little bit stronger because, well, you know, there are not so many tournaments here. Like, not every tournament goes to the FIDE rating in US, especially if you play locally, right? So he's facing this line, guys. He has my book on Slav. He has my book. He knows everything in my book, but bishop e2 is not in my book. Yeah, because it's relatively a fresh idea. So of course it has been played like a long time ago as well, but nobody considered it serious. Like, it's just like we are pawn up after this. Now only when Dubov started to play this opening, then it's kind of like became kind of like very, very popular at some point. Now, so he didn't know. He's like, well, what's going on here? And by the way, he's playing against somebody with 2400 FIDE rating. Yeah, so he's playing against somebody pretty strong. And he thought that, like, the guy doesn't know the theory or something, like, oh, he misplayed already, right? So he goes and he's like, why I don't like get the central pawn here? Why I don't play b4 and just get e4 pawn? In fact, it's probably not a good move. At least, well, it's a second choice according to the theory, but it's not great. It's not great. Now, guys, I wanted to show you. Okay, so here is very, very interesting. Like, you already sent me the option. It's not the question. I don't think it's fair to ask you like a puzzle question here, like a quiz, because it's still theoretical. It's still theoretical. So I don't think like it would be fair, right? So knight a4 played in the game. So a few players send this move, knight a4, and we basically entered this position when black captured on a4 and we captured on c4, right? So it's kind of like transformation of pawn structure, right? Transformation of pawn structure. Now I wanted to mention that very important. Somebody, is e5 possible? Very, very important question, guys. And actually, it took some time for the theoretical developments to understand that actually e5 is not a good move. e5 is not a good move, even though in many cases, guys, in many cases, it's white major idea. Let's say, you know, if it's something normal like e6 castle, then almost everywhere b4 runs into e5. There was, by the way, recently, guys, if you are interested in this variation, there was an amazing game, in my opinion, one of the best games of 2021, played by another Boris Gelfand. So there was a game, Boris Gelfand against Movsesyan, played in, I think, November 2021. But by the way, if you want to find this game, one of the sources that I would suggest it's this game on my YouTube channel as well. Yeah, exactly. Grand Swiss Riga, November, was a brilliant game. Well, it was before e5, and eventually we got the position with 4 queens. It's a fantastic game. It's just unbelievable game, right? So, guys, but here in this situation, so usually it works for white. Usually it works for white, but I'll probably take this away. So I think it will be more convenient. But what is happening now that after b4, e5, you know, well, there is 95, but after 95, it's a good chance that we will get this pawn eventually. Let's say we move the knight, and slowly we'll get c4, almost guaranteed, right? Now you can do bishop i6, but later we'll have queen c2 and so on. So this is good for us. Now, but there is this critical variation, guys. There is this critical variation. Read sharp. I don't know what is bishop g5. I don't see how it's relevant to this game. Bishop g5, ef6. Guys, take. So critical, right? You can, once again, you can take this pawn, but then I will take bc3 and I will get c4 eventually, right? And well, there is definite accomplishment for white in this position. So critical to take here, fg7. Now again, bishop g7, bishop b2, good for white. We'll get c4. Now queen, guys. How many times you played with 4 queens right away from the opening? Not happened in my chess career, to be honest. Like I, at least not what I remember. And never. Yeah, it's very rare, guys. And okay, this position that we have here, it's a very interesting position actually. And guys, it's literally the same position has happened in Gelfand's game. Only there was move e6 inserted. There was move e6 inserted and a4 for white. A4 for white, and it changes everything, guys. It changes everything. It's like remarkable. Now, what white should, what black should play here? What do you think, guys? What is the threat for white? Like what black should play? It's basically the only move. Okay, it's very important. Kushal, very good. Now, king d. Oh wow, so many moves. So many moves. So somebody send me the right one. Okay, there are like a few guys already. Guys, the big threat, there is a tactical threat, right? There is a tactical threat. Queen takes f8, followed by bishop h6 check, and getting the queen, right? So that means we cannot have just a regular move. Like it's funny, there is a game, there is a game here where, like a game of Dubov. Once again, I mentioned that Dubov is one of the players. So he faced bishop f5 against somebody like 2400, I think international master, queen f8, black resigned. So that's the game. 2020, probably online. Now, guys, what is happening here? Like black has to play this move. Now, also understanding the initiative, it's very important. If we just play normal move, let's say defending against this idea, right? Somebody recommended 97, right? 97. After castle, guys, I can tell you, like you can check, you can run the engine in this position, like if you wish, right? But it will be the advantage for white. It's messy. It's like rook up, not surprising, guys, not surprising because king is here. So, guys, when we play for the other side, right, and potentially we face initiative of our opponent, right, we should also understand what is happening. So like this is kind of emergency. We need to look for something better, something like more force. Maybe we need to trade one pair of queens and so on, right? So we cannot really play 97. Just noticing the idea. So the best move, definitely queen a5, guys. Queen a5, that's the move. By the way, what is interesting, like even Magnus at some point played this e5 move and he won. But his opponent, again, strong grandmaster from China, and his opponent, I think he didn't go for 4 queens, but he rather went for some cb2 at some point, and Magnus won a nice game, So this is how the theory evolves, guys. This is how the theory evolves. Now, what to do here? So there are like a couple of ideas, guys. Actually, black gets some kind of initiative here. So if king f1, very important move, queen c3, comes with the tempo. And also queen is protected, so there is no queen f8, right? Very important. And then basically we trade a pair of queens. Guarantee, right? And also king on f1, problematic. Now bishop d1, guys, bishop d1 runs into queen d1. Oh yeah, so okay, somebody asked me important question, and I think I have to address this in this position. King f1, queen c3, somebody asked bishop h6. Absolutely, but now I have time. Queen d1, bishop d1, I think queen d3 check might be useful, but in general, I have a defense. That's the point. Guys, now I have a defense, and then I prepare just queenside castle. Playing the bishop and queenside castle, yeah, so that's pretty good. Now, and the thing is, like with other options, bishop d2, so we trade, obviously bishop takes, very important. We have this tempo, so black gains initiative, so probably wins winning piece, because whenever bishop moves, there is c2 discovery as well, right? And guys, the main move is knight d2. So this is actually Gelfand game, but as I mentioned, e6 is inserted and a4, and then c3, and then castle. So that's literally what happened in their game, only with the pawn on e6 and a4. And they got this position, and it's appeared to be kind of like very interesting. White king gets blocked. No, I don't know what does it mean. I don't think white king gets blocked. But you know, guys, here the point is that in this position, so there will be opportunity for black, if I remember correctly, just to put, you know, bishop on f5. So that's kind of important. So this in this position, it's not working as well as the pawn when the pawn on e6. Yeah, you know, that's the big point about this line. Okay, basically we kind of like covered the theory. I want to get back to this position, right? So we are talking about e5, and that it took some time for theoretical development to understand that it's not really working. So white played in this game knight a4, guys, and it's also very interesting question. You know, when I asked, like, I decided not to ask you, but sometimes, like, you know, when I show this game in my private classes, I'm like, where to go with the knight, right? And many players say knight b1. What is the reason for that? They're kind of like concerned about knight being on the edge of the board, right? But there are many exceptions, and it's one of them. So where it's actually knight is well placed, because it's guarding c5, prevents c6, c5 for black, and can jump to c5 one day as well. So very important. So if you play with initiative, something like long-term initiative, right? You cannot allow knight b1 moves. Like, you don't have time for this. Now, how would the game continue? So there was knight takes e4. Knight takes e4. So it was black to move bishop c4. So it's just a transformation. Actually, it's like optically, it's pretty good for black, right? We got a central pawn. We are seeing the game of unknown players. It's my student with black against other person with white, which is like 20. So basically like 2400 against 2250. So that's the ratings, guys. Now bishop c4, this type of position. So now, of course, one way to develop here is just to go e6. But he decided to play knight d6. So it's everywhere where is a good compensation. Okay, guys. Now, so here's the question. I want to hear from you what we do with the bishop. I don't think we can give up this bishop, right? It will be crazy. That's one of our important pieces. Now, we need to move this bishop somewhere. So where we move and why? Guys, but you already throw in the answers. But I want, you know how I do with my students, I say it's a game mode. Game mode, that means we try kind of like think well. Let's say I can give you like 3 minutes. Think well and come up with, like, you know, your suggestion, right? Like your answer, but you cannot take it back. So let's see what you decide. I would also encourage you guys, if you decide on something, maybe maybe some line, maybe like you say, like, well, I choose this square because I didn't like this, right? So that's also makes sense. Guys, I already mentioned, like, no, we are not giving up the bishop. Like those who suggest queen b3, you didn't listen well. I mean, we cannot afford giving up this bishop. Okay, but basically, it seems like many players answered, and I have to say that the majority were right. The majority right, and they suggested bishop b3 move, bishop b3, and the explanation we prevent bishop a6. We prevent exchange. So if we go to d3 or e2, so then there is a bishop trade with bishop a6. Logical. That's logical. I understand. But guys, how about then I have counter question to you. What about bishop b3 and black still plays bishop a6? What about our king? Knight c5. Okay, knight c5. And then let's say, well, I play bishop b5 just to save the bishop. a4. Oh, like so quickly in 1 second. a4 and ba3. What after a4? d5. Wow, so many moves. Okay, there is an idea that I think Yahart mentioned, and it's 95, guys. So here, what is important, guys, in this position. Now, yes, we cannot castle, but on the other hand, we will see that light square bishop is misplaced for black in some sense, because he needs to guard the diagonal and potential sacrifice. Somebody, Rishab already mentioned that there is knight b7 threat, and he is absolutely right. Guys, there is a deflection idea on f7, knight b7, bishop f7. Beautiful, right? So he probably has to play e6 in this position. He probably has to play e6, and now we just need an accurate move here. We just need an accurate move, which is not queen f3 that already obviously sent, because it's why not queen f3, guys? Because queen f6. We are not planning to trade, right? Knight, I don't think like sacrifice is working, guys. Sacrifices are not working yet, like, but it's in the air, right? So somebody is sending like queen h5, guys. That's the easiest solution. Queen g4, probably also okay. Queen g4, but I like always, guys, if you have a choice, like developing your initiative, so that's a very important rule. And let's say you have choice between two moves, always I would give preference to the move with tempo. Tempo. Now there is a pin, so some like, you know, knight e6, bishop e6 and threat. Now when he plays g6, I go queen f3. So that's a different story, and there is enormous pressure. Now all the sacrifices in there, all the sacrifices, right? For instance, if he decides to block, we'll take knight f7 already. King f7, and we play knight e6, and you know, attacking the queen, discoveries, right? Discoveries, plus g4, not to forget. So it's too much, too much. Now, I also like, you know, there is a very, very nice move that I noticed. Well, queen h5 is very strong, but equally strong. Computer recommendation. I really like this move, you know, guys. h4. So we cannot castle, guys. We cannot castle. So we just bring the rook from h3. So it's not a big deal for us. Not a big deal for us. And there is another additional idea, bishop g5. So you have initiative. Let's say it's not yet decisive in terms of sacrifice. Bring more pieces. Another important rule, bring more pieces. So guys, very important. So somebody mentioned here in this position to take on e6 and then queen h5. Guys, so that's exactly what we shouldn't do. We shouldn't force. Look, we need to check this. Maybe it's working. It's working, it's winning, then we go. But I don't think so. I don't think so, because let's say if you enter this, queen h8, I think black is fine. Like from material point of view, black is fine. And black will quickly prepare queenside castle. Right? So not to rush. Not to rush in this position. So that's very important. So here, so that's one, guys, one of the factors to feel initiative here. Like, you know, when I was asking, many players said, well, we go on this diagonal because we cannot allow bishop a6, which stops us from castling. We cannot afford this. In fact, there is something major, like much bigger than that, our initiative, right? Bishop b3. So we actually, he can do this, and bishop like more active on b3, right? Bishop a6. So we come here, and guys, you also can see how difficult for black to develop. There is no knight d7, like also no knight a6, right? So it's, so we have to see, we cannot just bishop b3 and that's it, because we prevent bishop a6 trade. No, we have to see how we develop knight c5, knight e5. Many players fail to see this. f6, then queen h5, reshuffle. Then it's working, right? So of course, yes. So of course, bishop a6 was not played in the game. Proud of my student. Yeah. So obviously he saw this. So he played e6. So what's going on here? Like, you know, solid position, right? Solid position. e6, castle, bishop e7. So guys, this is interesting. Like how we play this position. Like, you know, we are not, again, not getting the pawn back. Not getting. If you think like you can get before, no, you're not getting. I can protect a5. Now, also, the pawn structure is very solid. Guys, by the way, you know what? Like, I wanted to come back 1 second. I forgot one thing. So here, after bishop b3, there is something that I wanted also to discuss. There is a move. So there is bishop a6. Now, there is, by the way, we consider bishop b3, and somebody told me, well, bishop g4 is coming. Bishop g4 is coming, right? So that was one of the reasons. Let's say he picked up bishop e2. No, there is no bishop e7. Dhruva, there is no bishop f7, knight on d6. That would be too easy. So what is here, guys? What do you think? h3. I will be happy to take, you know, I will be happy to take bishop f3, queen f3, and then e6. So I don't have a passive bishop. Queen d3, h3, bishop d2. A lot of moves, but what to choose? Guys, what to choose? Oh, finally it's coming, guys. So again, feeling the initiative. Guys, there is this amazing move. So we are obliged to check these moves because he's about to consolidate. We have to check. Not always it works, but here it works extremely well. Guys, now see this position. How black can develop now? How black can develop? You play e6, I take, so obviously weakening. You play g6, there is this idea, I think right away, double attack. So no g6, no e6. We have to see these moves, right? Very powerful. Very powerful. So somebody rejected this line because he didn't see d5, like when I was working with the students, right? So it's so bad position for black that computer recommendation to sacrifice exchange like this, you know, so bad, all the options, all the other options for black. And white is bad. So we don't go in details, like, I mean, we just take exchange and like not enough compensation, but at least black is not losing immediately. Okay, so now bishop f5, another move. Guys, what about bishop f5? What about bishop f5 in this position? Followed by 6? Correct. Dhruva, like d5 again. Yeah, so you already suggested d5 first time. Why not this? Before he plays e6. Right? Guys, feeling the right momentum. We play castle e6. So we need to sense this. Then it will switch. Then it's positional. So no, d5, guys, no need like knight h4. d5, the same idea, right? Okay, game. e6 was played, castle, bishop e7. So guys, so that's very interesting. Like now no tactics, not winning like initiative like we discussed now, knight c5, knight e5, no d5, purely positional stuff. Purely positional stuff. Now somebody mentioned isolated pawn. g6, bishop g7 also possible, and it's also very, very nice compensation. So unfortunately, no time to cover everything, guys. But by the way, important 5 minutes before the end of the class, we'll have a Q&A session, right? So every questions which are not related to the lesson, to this game, you will have a chance to ask. Okay, now, so we're basically talking about white setup now, right? We are talking about white setup, how to arrange pieces. Like, we should forget about all the winning ideas that we discussed right now. So it's all about just, you know, set up pieces well and play for long-term initiative. So we basically, guys, we basically have two moves because most probably he's castling next, right? So what do you think about your setups? Like, give me two moves, like move, castle, next move. And guys, one thing we need to keep eye on knight f5, right? Knight f5 idea. So many players. So far I see only one move. Guys, you just throw the one move. Knight e5, castle, queen f3. Okay. Developing knight to the center. Well, it doesn't call developing. It's just jumping to the center, right? Bishop d2, knight e5. Okay. Rook e1. Rook e1, and then what's the second move after castle? Bishop c2, castle, knight e5. Okay. Bishop f. So, guys, how to choose, right? Like there are so many moves, so many, like we like 10 options here, right? Okay, Rishit. So I think he specifically suggested this idea. So I maybe again, guys, I'm sorry if I'm not mentioning some name, but it's just what I noticed. Now Rishit. So he suggested strange move queen c2, followed by bishop f4. Why? Now, guys, you mentioned so many moves. I don't know like if I can address it, but here's the couple of points. Now, popular idea: bishop c2, castle, queen d3. Popular idea, right? To set up a well-known battery. The problem is, let's say I play knight f5, and there is a threat, and I don't know how much we accomplished like with this setup, right? So we need no g4, bishop a6, right? There is queen e4. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. So I'll take on f1. So that's correct. Yeah, I mean it's probably I can fight with like yeah. So probably I'll play g6. You know what? G6 or yeah, I know it's weakening a little bit, but it's not a big deal. And bishop now you have to react to bishop a6, right? So you cannot jump bishop h6. So probably g6. Yeah, good point. Good point here, guys. So this is one, right? Now, knight e5, very popular jump, but my concern here, move knight f5 right away, maybe even not too excited about this, right? Now bishop f4, rook c1 also like was quite popular. I mean, what knight? Queen h5 castle, no problems there, right? So, no, g3 h4 is too slow, guys. Now, very strong and important idea, guys. So now the point to bring all our remaining pieces into the game, right? So that's the major point. Somebody mentioned to attack pawn c6. This pawn is not a big deal. Knight e1, guys, exactly not to play such moves. We need other pieces. We need to develop other pieces. So that's how initiative plays out, right? Especially now, long term, like not clear, no clear weaknesses, maybe c6 a little bit. No, d5 is not working. No, guys, like this tactics, there is bishop b7 at the end. So very important, as I mentioned, queen c2. Guys, why queen c2? With the idea to have, first of all, it's a good square for the queen. You know, keep an eye on h7, c file, but I want to have rook d1 move to guard d4 and queen d8 x-ray potentially. You will see after knight f5, I always want to have rook d1. So he played queen c2, castle, and bishop f4. So we just develop pieces. Guys, we shouldn't go crazy like, you know, h4, knight e5. There are a lot of pieces that are not playing. You know, rooks are not playing. That's where bishop is not playing. Develop. Right? Now, knight f5, which I think played in the game. Right? We have rook d1 move. Very convenient. The question is, which rook and why? Who can explain? So obviously, like I'll see the answer now, like definitely I'll see like rook fd1, rook ad1. But why? Yeah, I'll give 2 minutes that everyone can answer. Like, who wants to answer? Those who say just rook d1, it doesn't count like an answer. It's guys, it's very, very interesting. Like I would say that my experience with my private lessons was the same, more or less 80% in favor of rook fd1, because the second rook comes to c1. Guys, in fact, white position probably very good in both cases, but like the pressure along the c file, it's not such a big deal. We will see in the game that in many cases black is quite happy to get rid of c6 pawn and activate the pieces, So rook fd1 is kind of like more positional approach, so that everyone mentioned, well, yeah, the second rook coming here. But guys, I would say that I would rather think about the king side. I want to think about the king side. That's why rook ad1. There is not such a big difference. There is not such a big difference, like as I said, but just rook ad1 is, so one rook comes to d1, another potentially to e1, or maybe stays on f5. So that's the logic, right? It's hard decision, and but I mean, what is good about white position in general after both moves, it's still very rich position and a lot of compensation, guys. And now you can see that it's not so easy to move for black, not so easy. So you see bishop b7, there is knight c5, right? And also weakening e6, knight c5. So we said knight on e4 is fantastic, actually, it's great. Now knight d7, then we will take on c6 because we win material. So that's why, not surprising, he's playing this strange move, bishop d6, in the game, right? It's a little bit strange, but it comes because, well, it was hard to find some useful moves for black. What about how to react? What we do with the bishop? Oh, bishop e3, somebody recommends. Well, that's very strange. Bishop e3. Queen e4. So guys, you probably already suggested all possible moves that I knew that there exist in this position, and even some of them that I didn't know that exist, right? Guys, here it's something interesting. I still see the moves are coming, like everyone just take bishop. So there is a recommendation in bishop takes d6. Guys, in fact, there is no problem to exchange. I think it's kind of like probably okay trade for white in terms of, so we get more control over c5 and e5 squares, right? Like kind of like easier. We shouldn't worry about bishop takes c5 and so on. So that's not a big deal for us. So it's not that we should wait and jump bishop g5. And bishop g5, bishop e7 anyway. Now knight e5. So this move kind of like looks attractive. The problem with this move, if black plays queen c7, so we need to think about black moves as well. So next comes knight d7, and the trades are coming, right? The trades are coming, but potentially f6 in the air. Like, of course, we have to watch some tactics with queen f5. Queen f5, the pin is there, right? Like, but it can come. Now, so 95 is not so good. Bishop d6, fine. Now, surprisingly, very good that many players, quite a few players suggested bishop e5. So we are saying like, okay, trade, but on our conditions, right? So bishop e5, d5. So then we get also this, like get rid of isolated pawn, d file, and definitely something will get to d6, right? Rook or knight. So that's great pawn structure transformation. Really, really favorable. Now, I have to admit that this move, I think, is not working because we have these tactics, like something will happen here. You know, he's not like really losing, but the pawn structure ruined, and I don't know, we can play queen e4, something like that, right? It's like everything collapses, maybe queen g4. Now, there is no knight d7, queen c6 still there. And so what happened? Black played queen c7. Guys, preparing knight d7. Very interesting moment. Very interesting moment here. Why to move? What to do? Yeah, I want to give you just like maybe 30 seconds more, and we'll see what is happening. Guys, I see some players like already like free answers. Free answers. Are you allowed to play free moves in the game? Oh, rook c1, guys. Well, that's strange. We just put rook on d1 and then rook c1. Okay, guys. In fact, so that's very, very critical moment in the game, guys. Very critical moment in the game. Now, black is about to play knight d7, as I mentioned, and start trading, right? So we should be very careful. Now, in the beginning, and I think still it's top choice, there is knight c5, very natural, very natural. Now, the problem here is knight d7, right? There is a sacrifice on e6, but which needed to be like checked, obviously. But it's not so clear at the end, guys. I'll show you the line. Knight e6, f e6, check, right? King has go to h8. We take on a5. Seems like we regain the piece and 2 pawns, but the problem is knight e5. So there is an issue here, right? And everything is hanging, and here is hanging. So there is, if bishop c8, knight f3, we have to take like this, and then bishop f5. And you take, and bishop c2, right? And rook is hanging at them. So there is this line. I mean, we have to calculate for it. Now, this position, actually, white is not worse, but it should be drawn. c7 pawn is very strong. And black cannot get this pawn right away, right? So we have compensation, yes. But, you know, it's too many trades, right? Like white to burn everything, right? And just going for this endgame. It's not logical, correct? So that's important line. Guys, everyone is talking about knight c5. And yes, it would be a great move if not knight d7. So then it will be just a domination, right? But knight d7 is working, and he's about now to trade everything. Like, I mean, 2 minor pieces in the center. So that means this is like critical moment, and we need to sense exactly. That's the momentum. That's what momentum for us. Surprisingly, I'm like pleasantly surprised, guys. Yeah, I think Dhruva, you were the first one who came up with this idea. I think we are very well placed, guys, with development advantage. So that's a momentum. Before he played 97, we developed with significant development advantage. So we can strike with g4. I don't think bishop e6 is possible. It's still 95, all these trades. I don't think it's working. Kushal, yeah, definitely needs to be checked, but it's not working. Guys, g4, what is this g4? Now, g4, 97, and like, I think a few players mentioned, like, g4 would be just like a beginner move if you play just g4, and then you do something else. I play knight g6, you know, moving the pawn out of our king. The problem is, not the problem, well, the follow-up is knight g5. So that's very important. It doesn't come like g4, just one move, right? Knight g5, targeting h7. Knight g6 has to be played, right? And what is important move? What is very important move? h4. Well, I don't know, h4, it's another sacrifice. Why not f4? Yeah, h4 is another sacrifice. He can take twice on e5. Why? Right? f4, fantastic. Guys, and that just shows the point, like, we don't need rook e1 move. We don't need rook e1. Our rook on f1 is fantastic. And now, guys, when I check this position, it's actually, from computer perspective, it's like close to winning for white. Now, I mean, it looks great, right? Optically, it looks great, but there is also a pretty big threat. Let's say I played 97. How white continues his attack? Dhruva, very good. I don't know about f5. It's required a lot of calculation. Guys, there are like a lot of people who suggest h4, just h4, h5, just like that. No reason to play queen e4. Queen is well placed on c2. h4, h5, crushing, just crushing. So that's the best move. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if something else is possible, but h4, h5, fantastic. Right? Okay, so that's great opportunity. That's a great opportunity to play g4 in this position when everything is ready. So what happened in the game? Well, the king is open, but like, you know, so here's the question, right? Like, Rishab asked me, what about king? Guys, we sacrificed the pawn, right? We are pawn down, and he has no pieces to take advantage of our like open king. Some like if there would be some pieces around our king, but there is like zero, right? Like nothing. So it's not even he can create any threat. And well, maybe in worst case we have also the queen guarding the second rank. Of course, we need to feel when we are kind of like allowed to do this, right? It's not that in every position, but here it's working. So the guy just played rook e1. He just played rook e1 in the game, and black came up with 97. And now there was opportunity, guys. There was another opportunity to play g4. It was still pretty strong. It was still pretty strong, but not as strong as before. So another opportunity was missed actually by a player who played with white. So he kind of like switched to some positional play. Queen d6, and he played queen e4. Now, this is not the same. It's still, guys, you would be surprised, but it's still a lot of compensation. Now, by the way, queen e4 is not a good move. Queen e4 is not a good move. No advantage after that. No advantage after queen e4. Now, it was important. That was the moment where black could have played knight e5. That was the move. But this required precise calculation. Why precise calculation? Because there is knight d4, right? Guys, who can give me a very good line? What is happening here? Why white is winning after knight d4? Rook d4, queen d4, knight c6. No. What's the problem there? Queen f6. Queen e4, I think I take on e5, queen e5. Knight f7. I don't know what is this one. Knight f7, rook f7, queen c4, c5, I think. Oh well, actually knight e5. Julem. So knight d7. What if I take? What if I play bishop d7? Rook d4, rook d1. This one is not so clear, and also at the end there is a background issue. Julem, very good, guys. I don't know if I pronounce your name correct, but that's a beautiful solution, guys. Julem. So knight d7. That's the only solution, guys. Very important. So obviously, if knight c2, rook d6, knight e1, knight f8, this knight is trapped here. So that's an easy one. And we are like, we already piece up, right? So now, but the biggest challenge, what happens after bishop d7, and here Julem, queen c5, guys, queen c5, forcing knight c5, and after knight b3 we have knight d7, so we win material. Beautiful line, guys. So at this point, he had to find knight e5, but this required calculation, knight d4. So kind of like a little bit lazy, played queen e4, and you know what happened? What happened? White were not decisive. Black were able to trade one pair of pieces, which is always favorable for defensive side, playing against initiative, dark square bishop, plus completed the development, right? And basically what happened in this game after, so was interesting, after queen g4, knight f6, yeah, it was not a good idea overall. Yeah, black slowly taking over, that's correct. Queen h3, my student just played c5. Guys, this is what I was talking, we don't need, like black actually does not need c4, it only blocks the bishop. c5 was played, he captured like this. I mean, could have gone knight c5, right? But then there is oh well, maybe not, bishop f3 and knight d4, right? But anyway, position with isolated pawn, took on c5 and queen c7. And what happened now? Black have great pieces, and now we can talk about knight on a4 when he's not coming to c5. Oh, queen f4 is, he played queen c7. Dhruva, you are right, queen f4 was even better. Yeah, queen f4 was even better. So black took over, and he won the game actually. Yeah. So you see how like the missed opportunities, and you know, you play pawn down and you miss some opportunities and you allow your opponent to develop, well, you will be worse, right? So a few factors, guys, you can take from this game, right? How to develop initiative, what are the factors, right? Like for instance, this interesting moment, like we go bishop b3, we don't pay attention to bishop a6. I mean, we see knight c5, so we sense that it's much more important. How to bring board pieces, right? Bishop f4, rook d1, and so on. So concentrate, mobilize your pieces first. If there is no decisive idea, mobilize the pieces. Now, on the other hand, when we check, there was bishop g4 move, and then we need something like emergency, like something right now, d5, right? So a lot of factors. I think, guys, I know it's not an easy. It's not in a very advanced aspect of the game when you play for long-term compensation, right? Like it was here. Like somebody was saying, I noticed in the chat, well, we are pawn down and isolated pawn, but in fact there are like other factors, development, piece coordination that were much more important in this game. Okay, guys, I don't know. I will always, like, if you remember, and those who attended my class, I always go over time. I don't know, Adriana, do we have 5 minutes for Q&A session? I would love to.
Yeah, sure. It's time to.
Yeah, maybe you start another lecture now, so I don't know. Yeah, so we have 5 minutes for Q&A. So
yeah, we have a first question from Shanhodi. What do you think the main difference between a grandmaster's thinking and other players, for example, rated average?
Between grandmaster thinking, like I felt like level and guys, well, well, it's 1600 in Grandmaster. I felt like you at least you'll take 2000 in Grandmaster. Guys, it's experience, it's knowledge, right? Well, and overall understanding. So well, that's the it's so many differences, right? It's a huge gap. Like it's a huge gap. It's, you know, experience, knowledge, the right way of working, like much better understanding, right? Like it's in everything, basically. That's a huge difference, right? Some good books on Benko and Reti. Wow, that's a tough question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I remember any recent books. Guys, you know, I think the times has changed a little bit. So now maybe like it would be fair to ask like good sources, right? Because we have very popular platforms like Chessable and Modern Chess, right? Where it's a little bit different formats, but I would highly recommend. I know, like for instance, I don't remember any recent book on Benko, but it doesn't mean it does not exist. Like I don't remember. I don't know, but I know there is a pretty recent course on Chessable on Benko. I'm not sure about Reti, but definitely Benko. I think one of the Indian grandmasters. I might be wrong. I might be wrong, but they have something like maybe from the last year, so it should be good, right? How to improve middle game? How to study middle games? Oh, guys, it's a lot. Like you have a lot of middle game books. Like it's called middle game manual. Middle game manual. So there are, guys. If you have so here it's very important. If you have a coach, like you better go with his concept, right? Because he has some ideas. Like we take this book and then we take this book, right? But in general, there are like many books, right? Like many books. It also depends on the level. Like you know, guys, you have you have like super advanced level of Boris Avrukh, but I probably know that you are like kind of like below 2400 or 2300. So, well, very much depends. Let's say we take like level around 2000. You have or maybe like 1800 to 2100, right? There is this like a series of two books. It's called Russian Positionals. Like, what's the name of this book? There's a series of two books. It's by Sakayev and another Russian grandmaster, I think like Lanka. So they have like two series. One is positional, and another one I think like it's initial or dynamic or something like that. So they have a good series. So it's something Russian middle game or something like this. Now you have very nice book, guys, by look for the author. His name is Gruten. It's a Dutch author. I think he has like very like it's a hidden gem. Like nobody's mentioning this book. Like when I see like the books mentioned, what are the best books about middle game? Nobody. And he has a book like expert level. I don't exactly remember. Herman Gruten. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Herman Gruten, and he has like expert level, like something middle game, like how to make a decision, something like that. But you will see he has a couple of books. They both good. They both good. You know, so those are very good books. Now, books you recommend for developing initiative. Again, depends on the level. Monshrin, there is like, you know, talking specifically about initiative, there is Gelfand book, super advanced, called Dynamic Decision Making. So there is a series of 4 books. So that's specifically talking about initiative, right? Now, specifically for initiative, I think there is this series, Attacking Chess Manual, Jacob Aggard books. They're pretty good. Guys, please publish your questions in Q&A, right? I mean, I cannot like control two chat boxes, right? So yeah, I think those two I mentioned. I probably there is something more, but you know, guys, also very important. We're talking about initiative. It practically happens in every game. So you check the games like of current players. I'm kind of like, for some reason, I'm leaning towards like studying those games, because these players, they know so much. It's hard to compare with the players who played in 60s and 70s, right? And the level is much higher right now. and you pick up the game, I don't know, from Tata Steel, right? Like, let's say Vidit played, and you just pay attention to the moments where its tension started and how like he handled the position, you know, especially if he won the game and so on. So you can like basically by going over every game, you can see this moment, just pay attention to them, right? And then try to memorize some ideas.
Boris, it's time to end up the session. Yeah.
Yes.
So we would see you next week at the same time.
Yes, that's correct.
For all subscribers, don't forget to register for a camp on favorable tension on neutral.com next week, same time. And at the last, stay safe and thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for moderating, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next week. Thanks for attending. Have a good night, guys.